Alright, what's going on everybody? Kensou here, back again, another video, Guilty Gear time. So, a lot of people have been asking me for this one, so I wanted to make this separate from every other video. And that is my thoughts on Nagoriyuki. So, Nagoriyuki is definitely a very interesting design for Guilty Gear. I did state that I feel like there's a lot of BlazBlue's Hakumen in this character. His poke game, I think, is where he's going to shine because he doesn't really have much major mobility. You know, he lacks the air dash, and I think he lacks the double jump. I could be wrong here. If I am wrong, please let me know in the comments. I did some research about it, and I don't think I really found too much regarding his mobility outside of not having an air dash. I'm pretty sure he has a double jump, but if not, again, let me know. But we do know he has a command dash that does have options attached to it. We did see in the exhibition that Nage did throw, Goichi for doing the command dash. So later on, Goichi tried to condition him from that point using the attacks that came from the command dash as well. So we do know that that's there. My biggest thing about Nagoriyuki is that not only does he have big buttons, but he's always doing chip damage, and I think that's like a pretty huge thing, right? And the reason why it's huge is because essentially he's always doing damage to you, Every other character has to use special moves in order to do any kind of chip damage to you. Meanwhile, Nagoriyuki's just pressing his normal buttons and just kind of dishing out small, bites of damage to you. So it's constantly keeping you on edge. It's very similar to Hyde in Under Night in Birth, right? So in knowing that he's going to be constantly doing chip damage, it will make, the opposing player more aware of what they're guarding, and especially towards the later half of the round, when the life is low and there's life deficits or whatever. Essentially, he's built in a way to kind of keep the life lead in a sense, because I mean, not only does he do pretty big damage, it's just, again, he's just chipping you out, generally speaking. So it forces you to maybe FD. Again, I'm not sure if FDing him, I couldn't tell. I'll probably have to go back and take another look at it, but the fact that he's constantly doing damage to you, I'm not sure if you faultless defense, will it, stop the lifesteal? From what I can tell, it seems like it's pretty normal, like it doesn't really change despite the FD from what I saw in the footage. Maybe I have to go back and take a look, but if you know anything about it, please feel free to leave some comments below. Let me know about that too. Yeah, he just seems very solid. Like, I'm not too enthralled with his design in game. Not necessarily his look, but just his gameplay. I think it's pretty straightforward. There's not too much in the way of I don't know. I don't see a truly words I'm looking for. At the moment, I don't see a truly expansive character. I just see a character that's he seems like he was built to help kind of round out the system, if you will. So what I mean by that is, I feel like, and I think I said it in my analysis video as well, that it feels to me like he was the ground basis for Strive, and they wanted to use him for that purpose since he's very grounded. They were probably thinking of making the game a lot more link oriented, etc, etc. So I feel like he's a new character in the game, right? And normally when it comes to fighting games, anytime a new character comes into the series, they tend to play the system pretty well. They're because they're a new character, they're built to fit the engine, while the pre-existing characters, they try to fit them in the engine, if that makes sense. At the end of the day, there's only so much I can unpack so far. His blood gauge is kind of interesting from what I gather. If the blood gauge gets full, he goes into berserk mode, and I believe he starts losing HP or something to that effect. So you do have to maintain that, and I think that's probably the one intricate thing about him at the moment. Obviously we don't have the game, so I'd love to see how he kind of pans out after release. I do have some concerns for him in certain matchups. I am a little concerned about him versus speedsters, specifically Chip and Milia. We haven't seen any actual Zato gameplay, so that one might be hard to say too, but I think he might struggle there. And I'm speaking specifically when it comes to Zato, just based on previous Zato experience, with how you can manipulate Eddie and kind of control the screen. So I'm wondering how well he'll do against that kit. Now granted, obviously Zato is different. Just previous experiences just make me wonder about that. Part of the reason why I think the speedsters might do really good against him is because pretty much Chip is way faster than him. Obviously, we're gonna say the same thing, the general consensus: if you get hit, you die. Da 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 da. That's pretty standard for any speedster, including Milia, right? I think Milia's buttons are weaker than Nagoriyuki's, which has always been the case for Milia. Milia's normals have never been like super duper amazing by any means of the stretch in any version of the game. They're normally just okay, and they get the job done. This seems to be the same case here, but the idea about Milia is her mobility helps her kind of dance around the opponent, very similar to Chip. So once she gets the knockdown, it's going to be party time. So I'm not sure how well Nagoriyuki will do against those characters. And this is just an early take. This isn't just this is law. This is, you know, oh my gosh, Kensou thinks Nagoriyuki is going to suck. No, it's just given their kit. And I've had, 3 days experience with Chip during the beta. It's not even about his damage. It's just about him being able to just kind of prance around his normals, So obviously without teleport, it would probably make it a lot easier for Nagoriyuki to kind of play around Chip. But it doesn't change much of anything because Alpha Blade is essentially the new teleport. So whatever with that. Yeah, I have some concerns there. Same with Ram. Ramlethal right now to me is like, I guess I can kind of speak on this. She's looking really, really good right now. So I'm really curious to see how his kit plays against some of these other characters. But I would say those three in particular are definitely concerning. I could see him doing well against maybe Giovanna just because it seems like Gio, like her buttons are pretty good, but the range in which you have to be at in order to, do combat with her seems to be pretty up close, as opposed to Nagoriyuki controlling like the mid-range. Then I would also toss in the arena. I would also toss in Axel. I think Axel may or may not be problematic for him, just based on the range that Axel plays in general, especially in this game. Axel has a lot of ways to do damage this time around. Hopefully he ends up being a good character, but this isn't about Axel. A really funny and interesting thing to me, right, is that when I think of Old Faust and I see Nagoriyuki, Old Faust would probably have a field day against Nagoriyuki, to be honest. But with the removal of certain things from Faust, specifically the Flawless Defense Cancel, Jump H, and his Flawless Defense Cancel mix-ups, to start, it seems like that matchup's going to be, it might be tough for Faust. And, I did mention in my comments previously that there could also be a player-to-player thing. It could be a bad match. It's obviously too early to tell, but man, I really would think that Faust would win that matchup, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. We'll see what happens on release. There's still so many months before full release, and Faust can get updated and all kinds of things. Nagoriyuki can get updated. There's a plethora of things that can come out. So, just sitting tight. Just giving you guys my thoughts, my opinions, how I feel about certain things right now. But that is genuinely how I feel about Nagoriyuki. I don't really think I have too much else to say about him, just strictly because gotta be honest, guys, he's a very straightforward character. It's kind of like I'm talking to you about Kai. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah, I think that'll about do it for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. More Guilty Gear content on the way. I do have something special in which I'm working on. Hopefully I can get it kickstarted soon enough and get it out to you guys. Obviously Guilty Gear related. Typical YouTube jargon. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get updates from when I post something new. And I think this is the part where I do the usual and just say deuces gooses. So say it with me now. Deuces gooses.